going on, guys? Welcome back to SDG, but not for a lure build. No. Today, we head to the test tank for a test tank video comparing 10 different bass jig body materials. If you've been around the channel for a while, you may remember a number of months back, I did a video called The Tale of 10 Tails, right? Where I poured up 10 1/8 ounce crappie jigs. I chose 10 different tail materials. I tied those on, and then we put it in the test tank, and I showed you guys how each tail interacts with nothing else. Just no body to interfere, just what does the tail do, so that you have a better sense of what to use depending on what kind of jig you are wanting to build. So I think this kind of material is really helpful if you're a lure builder just like I am. You're thinking through a design like, should I use bucktail here? I wonder what silicone would look like on this one versus rubber, or Arctic Fox versus some others. Well, you're going to be able to see it. So I've got 10 different bass jigs tied up, body material only. Weed guard is in there, but otherwise everything else is the same. So let's go over to the desk. I'll show you the materials we're going to compare today, and then go through some of the other specifics for our video. Before we get into the body materials, I've got them laid here out. You can't see them yet. I did want to talk a few minutes about the jig itself. So each of these different body types or body materials, various lengths, they act different in how they flare, right? So what I wanted to do, especially when it comes to the length, I wanted to give every material kind of a fair shot. So knowing that some were longer than others, I chose a small jig. So what we've got here is a 1/4 ounce stand-up football head jig on a 3/0 hook. So I think that'll do a good job. Regarding the materials, you're not going to see like chenille or polar chenille or a dubbing loop with dubbing in it, or anything like ice dub, nothing like that, because those materials are used more for body wraps and bulk and volume. They're not really meant to have any action or movement, right? So we're not doing those today. Everything that you're going to see here in a minute was meant to show some kind of flow or action, if it has any. Regarding the jig, so as I mentioned, 1/4 ounce jig. Everything's going to have an FG30 weed guard in it. This is my control, by the way. You're going to see this one first so that you can see what the jig does. It is a stand-up head, so you may see it stand up. And every jig is going to have a 3.4 inch ecto craw on it. And obviously the ecto craw is going to stand up. The claws may vary the action. So I'm giving you a control before we get into all the different materials, so you can kind of take that into consideration as you analyze the results. Lastly, about the jig, I tied everything in on the collar. So if you are a fellow bait maker, and I imagine most of you are, we all know that where you put the material on a jig makes a difference in how it performs and how it lays on the bait. So to tie material directly onto the hook, you're not going to get nearly the flare, and there's other considerations as well. Whereas if you tie onto that collar, and because of the lip of the collar, it's going to promote flare. So I wanted to be true to the materials, and everything that you're going to see tied in here, 210 denier, flat wax nylon on everything, everything is going to be tied in at the collar. So if there is some natural flare from the material, or lack thereof, you'll be able to see that as the whole package comes together. So I think that's about it. Now let me show you what material we're going to run through. The first one's going to be a 1.5 tabs of silicone. Most of this stuff is black, so we're using black there. The second one is going to be a full tab of black round rubber. The third one is going to be black bucktail. The fourth is cross-cut rabbit strip. So this is one of the shorter materials, what I was talking about before, but it's cross-cut, not standard cut. So it's going to fill in some more of that body a little bit better. The fifth is black Arctic foxtail. Sixth squirrel tail. 7th, marabou. That's going to be an interesting one, I think. What number are we on? 8? Yeah, 8. So 8 is EP fiber. I don't know if you guys know what this is. It's used a lot more in fly fishing. It's definitely a synthetic. It's not natural, but you can look it up. Just Google it. EP fiber. It comes in a boatload of different colors. I had it in gray and white, so I chose gray. 9th is calf tail, or as Small Jaw likes to call it, kip tail. Again, short material, so I tried to get some of the longer stuff that was here on the end. And then 10th. Yeah. Craft fur. If you're new to the channel, you're like, what the heck is wrong with him? But for those that have been around or engaged with me on the comments and even asked me, hey man, why don't you use any craft fur? Why don't you ever use it? I used to have some of this stuff a long time ago. I didn't like the way that it felt. I didn't like the way that it moved in the water. And I sold it all and I never looked back. But I thought, how can I do this video and not show craft fur? And I have to say, so this is extra select craft fur. This does not feel or look like the stuff that I had before. I was surprised. I am very curious to see what this looks like in the test tank. But that is number 10. I have done it. So for all of you that wish I did more with craft fur, here you go. I think that's it, guys. The video, or the test tank video, will start out with our control, as I mentioned, and then we're just going to run through each one. I'll pop up a little label as we go to each, and then I'm really curious to hear in the comments which one you guys think performed best, or which one you liked the best. And I guess without any further ado, let's get over to the test tank. Well, what'd you guys think? I enjoyed that. I liked especially seeing each of the different body materials one after another. Kind of gave me a perspective in a short amount of time where you could really notice how one body material acts versus another. So super curious to hear what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear your observations. There were definitely some that were more profile jigs and some that were more flowing and action-oriented jigs. Definitely a time and a place for both of those. So if you want to here's an idea. If you want to give me your top profile jig and then your top action jig material, love to hear that. If you just want to share whatever's on your mind, then share whatever's on your mind. Curious to hear what you guys think. So this was a lot of fun. I will keep my own comments to myself as to not sway anybody, but I will definitely be watching for the comments to come in on this one. Lastly, you know, I've got 11 quarter-ounce football head jigs with trailers and various materials on it, and I don't need them. So I'll post them to the website, sdgcustomlurecraft.com/shop. You can go to the YouTube build section of the website, and I'll post them on there super cheap. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to the next build. If you'd like to see some more videos just like this, then click on this video right here. If you're curious why I call the channel SDG, then click on this video right here. Otherwise, you know the drill. Until the next time, I'll see you guys at the vise.